Welcome, travelers, champions, heroes, and villains, to the adventure. Well, opening adventures. We have 15 packs to open, and we're apparently out of packs or decks to earn. So we're going to need to make our own fantastic deck to climb on through the ladder and the ranks. So let's see what we can get. We will start off with Innistrad Crimson Vow. These are all packs that I earned with gold from playing the games and getting daily victories. So we got Rending Fire, going to deal some damage, creatures and planeswalkers, and that permanent is a spirit. It also deals damage to that permanent's controller. If people are playing spirits, that's really good. Fellstinger, a death touch exploiting zombie, scorpion. Exploits creatures, draw cards, lose life. Not bad. Crushing Canopy, destroy target creature with flying or an enchantment. Scattered Thoughts. Is that a creepy homunculus? With the top 4 cards of your library, put 2 of those cards in your hand and the rest in the graveyard. I mean, helps you look. Pulls through your deck, gets stuff in your graveyard. Fantastic stuff. When Repository Scab exploits a creature, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Very nice. Stitched Assistant. And when it exploits a creature, scry, then draw a card. And we have some Daybreak War Combatants. Enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 till end of turn. Has haste, so it could be a 4/2 on its own for the turn. Okay. Hallowed Haunting, a mythic rare. Good for us. As long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit cleric creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of spirits you control. So first we want to kill spirits, and now we got a card to create spirits. Cool. Next deck, or next pack. We got some wild cards. Chill in the Grave, or Chill of the Grave. The spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a zombie. Tap target creature doesn't untap during control, next untap, and you get to draw a card. Fantastic stuff. Always nice when a card replaces itself. When Mind Leech Ghoul exploits a creature, each opponent exiles a card from their hand. Point of Discussion. You draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, then create a blood token. It's kind of pricey for that, but if you're doing blood tokeny stuff, that's cool. Adamant Will. Creature gets +2/+2 and gains indestructible until end of turn. That's fantastic. Far better than like the give +2/+2 to a blocker or blocked creature that we have in most of our white decks. Circle of Confinement. Oh, I thought his legs were cut off from that. I was like, good lord, what? Actually, they might be. That might just be some censoring of blood. When Circle of Confinement enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or less until it leaves the battlefield. When an opponent casts a vampire spell with the same name as the card exiled with Circle of Confinement, you gain 2 life. Okay. Spiked Ripsaw. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 to use equipments. When equipped creature attacks, you may sack a forest. If you do, creature gains trample. 3/3 for 3 and equip it for 3, it's okay. Necro Duality. Got ourselves another mythic rare. Whenever a non-token zombie enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Okay. Making zombies. Well, I guess this is the Crimson Vow. It's like the zombie, werewolf, vampire-y theme. Got a panicked bystander. Whenever he dies or another creature you control dies, you gain a life at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, transform him. Whenever Cackling Culprit or another creature you control dies, gain a life. Cackling Culprit gains Death Touch till end of turn. Fair enough. Wolfkin Outcast. Costs 2 less to cast if you control a wolf or werewolf. So it'll be significantly cheaper. It's pretty nice. Whenever Wedding Crasher or another wolf or werewolf you control dies, draw a card. Drawing cards is also great. Blood Crazed Socialite. These are cards that we've already had before. Although, good lord, he looks disgusting. Gluttonous Guest. Enters the battlefield, create a blood token. Whenever you sack blood tokens, you gain life. Wedding Invitations. Dawnheart Disciple. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, Dawnheart Disciple gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Be cool if it was a counter. Howling Moon. The beginning of combat on your turn, each target wolf or werewolf you control gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Whenever opponent casts their second spell each turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature. Okay. So it's kind of designed to make you stay in one phase of the day or night, or else you get punished by giving your opponent wolves. Not bad. Got wild cards. We got the Allenbrook Escort. Sacrifice some target creature you control gets +1/+1 counter on it and gains a lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. That's pretty awesome, actually. A Braid. Deal 3 damage to target creature or destroy an artifact. Useful. Doomed Dissenter. When they die, create a 2/2 black zombie. Not bad. Nurturing Presence. Enchanted creature has whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. When Nurturing Presence enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So if you pump out a bunch of creatures in a turn, you can make your creature huge for one single turn. Fearful Villager has Menace. Fearsome Villager still has Menace. It's okay. Bleed Dry. Target creature gets -13 till end of turn and gets exiled if it dies. Dying to Serve. Whenever you discard one or more cards, create a tapped 2/2 zombie creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Cool. Looks like we're getting a lot of zombie stuff. Well, a lot of good zombie stuff. Circle of Confinement, we just had that. Biolume Egg. The Serpent Egg. 0/4 Defender. When it enters the battlefield, scry for 2. When you sacrifice the egg, return it to the battlefield, transform under its owner's control at the beginning of the next untap step, which turns it into the Biolume Serpent. Sacrifice 2 islands, and it can't be blocked this turn. Honestly, it's okay. If you got like a deck that involves sacrificing, like sacrifice your other creatures, it becomes significantly better. Otherwise, it's 1/4 Reach and Training. Decent. Grizzly Ritual, I love that picture. Just looks like it explodes into a fine red mist. But that is so expensive. Destroy a creature. Wolf Strike. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. If it's night, then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Deadlight Monstrosity. Okay, that's really cool. It's like a crab with a lighthouse on its back. 5/5 with a ward of 2. And Dreadlight Monstrosity can't be blocked this turn. Activate only if you own a card in exile. It's okay. And another mythic rare wild card. Excellent. That'll definitely help along our way to creating a deck. Well, a semi-competitive deck, and we just earned one for opening enough packs as well, so. We've got Lacerate Flesh, deals 4 damage to target creature, create a number of blood tokens equal to the amount of excess damage. It's way too expensive. Cradle of Safety. Enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn, and it gets 1/1. It's good if you're doing an enchantment style deck, like with the spirit things. Because you get essentially hexproof for the turn, and it's always going to be a little bit bigger. Nice and quick. Supernatural Rescue. The spell has flash as long as you control a spirit. When you cast a spell, tap up to 2 target creatures you don't control. Enchanted creature you control gets +1/+2. Kind of pricey, but it's got a lot of stuff to it. Mind Leech Ghoul. Exploits a creature. Each opponent exiles a card. Screaming Swarm. Bird Horrors. Oh god, it's the Birdemic. Except for that already looks better than that whole movie. 4/4 Flyer for 6. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, target player mills that many cards. Put Screaming Swarm from the graveyard into your library second from the top. So you can keep getting back. Kinda. But also if you're milling out your opponent, that's a half-decent way to do it eventually. Ill-Tempered Loner is dealt damage, deals that much damage to any target. That's always an awesome ability. Ill-Tempered Loner gets +2/+0 till end of turn. And it eventually flips over to become the werewolf. Whenever a permanent you control is dealt damage, Howlpack Avenger deals that much damage to any target. Okay, that's amazing. Howlpack Avenger gets +2/+0 till end of turn, so that's one of those ones where you do like a small little earthquake effect when you have a whole bunch of creatures. And yeah, it hopefully kills off part of your opponent's board, but you're going to do that much damage back to your opponent that it did to your board, and they're not going to die because it was 1 point of damage. So that's actually an amazing card, and I really, really like it. But now we are on to the Adventures in the Forgotten Realm. Hopefully I can piece together something fun out of this. Got the Grim Wanderer. Cast a spell only if a creature died this turn, with Flesh. A Goblin Warlock. Every time I see it's a goblin, always laugh. Rally maneuver. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike till end of turn. Up to one other target creature gets +0/+2 and gains lifelink. Horde Robber. Whenever Horde Robber deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. That's pretty nice, actually. Veteran Dungeoneer. When it enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. Makes sense. Earth Cult Elemental. He's a siege monster. You roll a d20 when he comes in. Each player sacks a permanent, each opponent sacks a permanent, or each opponent sacks 2 permanents. Pretty nice. And Devour Intellect. It's awesome because it's got a little Intellect Devour on it, which is one of the first monsters I ever used in a D&D campaign. But target opponent discards a card. If mana from a treasure was spent this way instead, that player reveals their hand and you choose a non-land card from it. Then that player discards that card. Cool. Neverwinter Dryad. Sacrifice them to search your library for basic forest card and put it on the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. It's cool for those landfall style decks. Hand of Vechna. And it is in fact the appropriate hand. It is the left hand of Vechna. At the beginning of combat on your turn, equip a creature or a creature you control named Vechna gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Equip, pay 1 life for each card in your hand, or equip for just 2. Not bad. So if you've got a big old draw deck, you can make a huge creature at the beginning of combat on your turns. It's really sweet. Got the rally maneuver again. Critical hit. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. When you roll a natural 20, return critical hit from your graveyard to your hand. That's kind of awesome. Arborea Pegasus. Enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying till end of turn. Herald of Hadar. Circle of Death. Oh, you can just pay it to roll. Each opponent loses 2 life, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Also trade 2 treasure tokens. Okay, I'm seeing a black treasury style deck forming. Veteran Dungeoneer again. Dwarfhold Champion. Becomes a 3/3 as long as it's equipped. An Owlbear. It does owlbear things. Dungeon Descent. Enters the battlefield tap. Tap add a colorless mana or 4 and tap it to tap an untapped legendary creature you control. Venture into the dungeon. Alright. So if we need to untap some legendaries. We got wild cards, which is always nice. A Lightfoot Rogue. Sneak attack. Whenever it attacks, roll a d20. Lightfoot Rogue gains Death Touch. Gains +1/+0 in Death Touch. Gains +3/+0. Gains First Strike and Death Touch. That's kind of awesome because well, I guess it's whenever it attacks, like the opponent will know if they need a block at that turn. But you also, for like the rolling things like the critical hit, you get to do it every turn. If you can make that unblockable, it's also cool. But at the very least, it's going to be a 2/1 Death Toucher every single turn when it attacks. But only when it attacks, so not a great blocker. You hear something on watch. Arouse the party. Creatures you control get +1/+0 till end of turn, or set off the traps. Spell deals 5 damage to target attacking creature. Shocking Grasp. Target creature gets -2/-0 till end of turn and draw a card. Mediocre. When Priest of Ancient Lore enters the battlefield, you gain a life and draw a card. You're ambushed on the road, make a retreat, return target creature you control to its owner hand, or target creature gets +1/+3 till end of turn. Meh. You get the Secret Door, where you can keep venturing into the dungeon. Eventually. Skeletal Swarming. Each skeleton you control has trample. Attacks each combat if able, and gets +X/+0, where X is the number of other skeletons you control. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 1/1 black skeleton creature token. Creature died this turn, create 2 of those tokens instead. Oh, okay, so this is just overwhelming skeletons. That's also amazing. See if we can get some cool skeletons and some cool other... Looks like we're leaning towards like a black deck, possibly black and something else. Got a Barrowin of Clan Under. I believe we already have one of her, yes, because it doesn't say new above like anything here. But we got a Guild Thief. Deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on it, and it can't be blocked this turn. Kind of awesome. We've already seen with some of our other decks that creatures that constantly get bigger are ungodly powerful. Whenever Shortcut Seeker deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. 4 for 2/5. They'll probably be able to block it significantly. Like, is that not evasive? That's kind of garbage. You find a cursed idol, smash it, destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or create a treasure token and venture into the dungeon. Devour Intellect, we already saw that. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn, and untap it. It's good for the sneaky block. And any random rare we want. Fantastic. Got another Barrowin. Are we leaning towards black-white? She enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. Whenever she attacks, return up to 1 creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield if you've completed a dungeon. Got a Blink Dog. Blink Dog phases out, phase out. Permanents that phase out and anything attached to them are treated as if they don't exist until the start of their controller's next turn. So, can do some interesting stuff with that. Make it so it doesn't die continuously. A Boulette. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Boulette. It's kind of like a little vampire. Except for, I think it'd be a little bit more mana efficient being green. Silver Raven. When Silver Raven enters the battlefield, scry for 1. 1/1 flyer with a scry 1. That's a pretty good card. A Pixie Guide. Grant an advantage if you would roll 1 or more dice. Instead, roll that many dice +1 and ignore the lowest result. Guess we need things like that in order to make a dice rolling deck work. Devoted Paladin. Beacon of Hope. When Devoted Paladin enters the battlefield, create creatures you control get 1/1 and gain vigilance. So all of them. That's pretty sweet. And what do we get this time? We got Morton Kanan, a legendary planeswalker. Draw 2 cards, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. Create a blue dog illusion creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to twice the number of cards in your hand. Exchange your hand in the library, then shuffle. You get an emblem whether you have no maximum hand size. Good lord. Yeah. Yeah. That's a thing. See what we got. We got Fly. Enchanted creature has flying, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. There you go. We have a Red Dragon. When he enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent. Be nice if it was their creatures. Hobgoblin Captain. They get to get first strike when they attack with a bunch of other creatures. Vampire Spawns. Drain opponents. Thieves' Tools. Create a treasure token. An equipped creature can't be blocked as long as its power is 3 or less. Quite awesome. Kick in the door. Yep. Reciprocal Zombie. Sacrifice another creature and it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. Book of Exalted Deeds. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. Awesome. Exile a Book of Exalted Deeds. Put an enlightened counter on target angel it gains. You can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. Activate this ability only as a sorcery. So that goes really well in those green-white life-gaining decks that we've seen. Possibly straight white because it's 3 white, but we'll get there eventually. Power Word Kill. Destroy target non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon creature. Okay. Cloister Gargoyle. Enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. It becomes a 3/4 flyer if you've completed a dungeon. Circle of the Moon Druid. It's 2/4 on your turn and 4/2... it's 2/4 on your opponent's turn, sorry, and 4/2 on your own turn. Direwolf Prowler. Gains +2/+2 and gains haste until end of turn. Activated only once each turn. Fate's Reversal. Return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand and venture into the dungeon. A Mimic. Sacrifice him to add 1 mana of any color, or he becomes a shapeshifter artifact creature with base power toughness 3/3. Better if it just tapped and didn't sacrifice, but Ranger's Longbow. Equipped creature gets +2/+1 and reach. And we got Volo and the Guide to Monsters. The 3/2 human wizard, quote, bard. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. Interesting. So he kind of doubles up your creatures if they're all kind of different. Get some wild cards. We get the Warlock class. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, each opponent loses a life. When this class becomes level 2, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them in your hand and the rest in your graveyard. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn, so essentially double damage. More Vampire Spawns. Spike Pit Trap. Choose target creature, then roll the d20. It either deals 5 damage to that creature or 5 damage to that creature and create a treasure token. Interesting. Swarming Goblins. Enters the battlefield, roll 1. Create a 1/1 red goblin. Create 2 or 3. Whole bunch of goblins. Steadfast Paladin. 2/2 lifelinking for 2. Not bad. Bull Strength and an Ochre Jelly. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Split when it dies. If it had 2 or more 1/1 counters on it, create a token that's a copy of it at the beginning of the next end step. Token enters the battlefield with half that many 1/1 counters on it. Wrap it down. So it just starts off big and gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Not bad. Not bad at all. And finally, we have a Brunar Battlehammer. 5/3, geez. Each creature you control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. You may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost for the first equip ability you activate each turn. So even if it would have like an alternate cast like life or something else that's the only option, you can still just equip it for free on the first turn. A Purple Worm costs 2 less to cast if a creature died this turn. So, I mean, for 5 mana you get an 8/7 worm. That's pretty sweet. Neverwinter Dryad, we've seen that. Compelled Duel, target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn and must be blocked this turn if able. Spare Dagger, quick creature gets +1/+0 and has whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice Spare Dagger. When you do, this creature deals 1 damage to any target. Fair enough. Feign Death, until the end of turn, target creature gains when this creature dies when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. That's pretty outstanding. And the final card is Minxed, the beloved ranger with his trusty space hamster companion, Boo. When you enter the battlefield, create a Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. Get it, you trampling hamster. At the end of turn, target creature you control has base power and toughness XX and becomes a giant. In addition to its other types, activate only as a sorcery, so you can just make any creature you control gigantic. But it also would maintain its abilities, so you can totally come in and just launch a gigantic, trampling, hasting space hamster at somebody. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. I have to say, those are some pretty decent cards. Might be able to make a deck or start of a deck with the cards we have unlocked, but we'll be grinding through in our free-to-play challenge when I see you all again in the next adventure. Bye for now.